So here's the plan. We need to start doing this this goddamn tier list. The tier list that we're going to be doing today is ranking every single Overwatch hero, including Sojourn, from easiest to hardest. Now, I think we're going to do two different sets of tier lists. One is going to be which hero is easiest to hard. Wow, I didn't even need a priority pass. What is the point of priority pass? I can't even do the tier list. Okay, one of the tier lists that we're going to be doing is comparing characters on who is easiest to climb, and the other is going to be mechanically which is easiest to hardest. I hope that makes sense.
Hey guys, Mr. Idiot Stream. First list was too long, so if you'd like to see the easiest to climb tier list, leave a like.
Okay, so let's start working on the tiers themselves. Okay, Sojourn is, in fact, in this one. How should we order the tiers? We need to make great synergy, quite all right, can work, please no, sir. Actually, I feel like these are pretty good. Okay, S tier being, like, literally impossible. A tier will be difficult. This one will be sort of hard. This one will be easy, and then this one will be what is this? But yeah, impossible with no E, because the E it's just gonna carry on into the next line. The sort of hard, easy, and then what should the last one be? Snooze fest. Okay, all right. So this tier list in particular is gonna be the tier list deciding which characters are the hardest to play. Just to play. All right. So let's get this going. Mercy, literally impossible. I'm kidding. All right. We'll start with Mercy, seeing as though she's the first on the lineup. I think she's on the easier side. I don't think anybody's gonna disagree. Yes, she has aspects of her kit that's more mechanical and like her movement, for example. But for the most part, she still doesn't exactly need to aim. And I think that's a really big portion of her kit. And Guardian Angel kind of does it for her. Yes, there's things you can do like super jump, but you don't need to super jump by any means. Super jumping doesn't necessarily make you a better or worse player. So I think Mercy is fair to say that she's actually a little easier than most of the other characters in the roster. Ana can be very difficult. And the reason why is because you do need to do a lot of ult tracking, and you do need to do a lot of ability tracking especially. So you're kind of like always very aware of your surroundings. And I think Ana excels especially in like higher ranks because you start to see that gap in gameplay. Like the ML7s of the community, for example. I think Ana is fair to say that she's difficult. I don't think she's impossible to play by any means, but of the support category, she's definitely the hardest support to play. Ashe. This one is so debatable, and I don't want to just rate her highly because I'm biased. I think of the hit scans, she's definitely on the easier side, but hit scan in general is not necessarily very difficult in comparison to a lot of other DPS. And I'm saying that as a hit scan player, so I'm going to be honest about this. I think Ashe is in the sort of hard category. She's not extremely difficult, but you can't get away with being that bad. Moving on, Baptiste. Absolute. He is a little difficult though, because you can't just be hopping around like a dumbass. You just get clapped on in the middle of in the middle of the map. And it does require a little bit of aim, a little bit of patience. You can't just be I mean, he does have Immortality Field, which definitely reduces his skill gap, because Immortality Field anybody can use and get max value out of. That's the truth. I'm gonna put him in easier. I'm gonna say he's a bit more difficult than Mercy, but I'm putting him in easier because I think dude, the amount of people that just locked Baptiste and climbed all the way to GM from like plat in a matter of a season is ridiculous. There needs to be a conversation to be had desperately. All right, Bastion. You know what's funny is that Bastion is easy as a character, and that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about how difficult it is to climb with the character, but his basic kit is fairly easy, and there's a lot of newer players, a lot of people that are finally getting into Overwatch after 6 years that might be looking at the character like, okay, he's a little on the easier side. I think he's a snooze fest. I think he's a snooze fest. He might be our first and last snooze fest. Not our last. Brig goes into the snooze fest, and the only reason why I say that is because she does everything, and while Mercy has to focus on movement, Brig doesn't really need to do that. And what they did is they took away any tech that Brig did have for whatever reason that was, and they just took a very basic character, a DLC character, and proceeded to make her even more basic. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't anything that differentiated one Brig from the next. It's fairly a snooze fest. Anybody can kind of pick the character up and get value from her. I would say she might be more difficult than Bastion though from a kit perspective, because you still need to be paying attention to a lot of different things, a lot of different aspects as you're playing, and peeling for, I mean, I guess in this instance, your Zenyatta or your other support, which is not that easy, but that has to go with like climbing a lot easier. Okay, Cassidy. This is a constant argument that I get a lot, that Cass is harder than Ashe, but I personally don't think so. If you've ever seen the hitbox of his flashbang, it's massive. It's a lot larger than you actually think. And I'm sure the editor could probably find a picture and put that up on the screen somewhere, but it's massive. massive. I don't think it's that hard to hit flash. There are aspects of his kit. I mean, even Deadeye is fairly easy. It's time-based. It's not really like you need to, I mean, you need to position yourself properly, but in lower ranks especially, you can kind of get away with ridiculous Deadeyes. I'd say he's on the easier side. I don't want to put him in Snooze Fest because at the very least, you still don't have necessarily the most ammo, and some of the better players, you'll notice, they reload cancel a lot. Getting Deadeye to work isn't easy. In lower ranks, it is. You can get away with some dumb Deadeyes. Okay, Doomfist, literally impossible. I don't care. Yeah, like I can sit here and about like punch bots any day of the week, okay? Anybody can. Getting punch sucks. It really sucks. But Doomfist, at the very core of the character's design, requires the stars aligning in order to get value. You need everybody working in synergy together to even execute the most basic play. And I'm not talking about rolling out from the heavens, rolling out from every single rooftop on every single map and diag punching. Like, I'm not talking about all that garbage. The basic kit itself is like you need everybody to work together somehow in a ranked setting, which doesn't happen. So I'm gonna put him in literally impossible. He'll be our first entry for that tier. Diva is a snooze fest. I don't care. Diva's a snooze fest. She is. She has so much mobility, and I feel like, I mean, I guess obviously into Overwatch 2 they continue to buff her, and she's still fairly good in Overwatch 2. But DM is pretty easy. It's not like it requires any like cooldown management in particular. She doesn't need to reload. She takes verticality very easy, or it takes high ground very easily. Diva is on the easier side, not a snooze fest. I would not put her on the same tier as Brig and Bastion. Let's just leave it at that. All right, Echo, difficult tier, I would say, because you still need to be like a jack of all trades, and you cannot be a master of none. Like, you still need to be good at the game to play Echo. You can't just pick up Echo and be the best. It's impossible. I'm telling you, it's not the same. Like, okay, comparatively to Brigitte can do everything, but Echo can't do everything. You still need to be good. You still need to have good cooldown management. You need to have very good movement. Echo's difficult. I refuse. It's obviously more difficult than Ashe. Definitely more difficult than the other entries. I would put her on the same tier as Ana. Okay, Genji's literally impossible. This is so easy. Right up there with Doomfist. Kind of the same situation where you kind of need the stars aligned in order to get value. Genji is a disaster. It's pretty much why I try to avoid the character at all costs. Genji, I'm so sick and tired of people locking Genji in my games. So you can play pretty much any other character and get more value by existing. You don't even have to do anything. It's like people want to do the most. People want to make those flashy plays, but often the DPS that get the most value don't end up making very flashy plays ever. Anyways, okay, moving on. Oh, dude. Yo. Oh my god. Oh, dude, this one's gonna be so annoying. I can see the comments coming already. In a 6v6 poke meta, which is the ongoing meta that hasn't been dealt with for the past 2 years, you can pretty much just spam choke and give value. And Sonic Arrow is wild. Requires no skill. You shoot the wall and you see everybody off of cooldown. And it's headshots for days. The size of his projectile is massive. It's massive. Like, you need to try to miss, or you need to try to be overly fancy in order to miss. And Storm Arrow is just ridiculous. I honestly think Scatter required more skill than Storm. Okay, Junkrat. Now again, we can compare the Reddit Junkrats to the average player base all we want, but I'm not going to do that. Junkrat as a hero, in my opinion, is more difficult than Hanzo. You still need to know the trajectory, the general trajectory of projectiles. Hanzo's like a bullet. Bang. Junkrat, on the other hand, it's like a limp dick. Junkrat is on more on the limp dick level. I'm gonna put him on easier. He's definitely on the easier side, not a snoozer though. Okay, Lucio. Oh my god, this one's gonna be annoying as well, because like obviously the Lucio players that I play with and against, they're always doing the most. They're always playing fancy, and they expect other Lucio players to play fancy, but you don't need to. In most ranks, you can get away with just playing like a team-based, team-orientated Lucio, and he's not that difficult to play, and they made him even easier because you don't disconnect from the wall around corners. When they did that, I think when they did that change specifically, he went from being a sort of hard character to an easier character. Now, do I think he's easier than Diva? No. Right there. All right. Let me explain. Let me put some explanation into this. Okay, I think Mei is a snoozer because Mei kind of limits tank playability, and while tank is so good and so important in a 6v6 setting, I mean, it's very important in 5v5 as well, but they pretty much decide the game. I think Mei really takes a lot of that flexibility and a lot of that space space and just like helps your tanks take that space without necessarily, like, just by existing on the character. A lot of tanks can't play the way they would usually play, like, without necessarily having an impact. You are like subconsciously having an impact. You know what I'm saying? I think Pharah, yo, I'm about to make a big money play right here. Everybody was complaining about Echo, so I'm going to do this. I think Echo fundamentally is easier to play than Pharah. You get punished for making bad plays on Pharah more than you would get punished for making bad plays on Echo. Echo has a getaway free card for pretty much every situation, whether it's her ultimate or her movement. I think Pharah is easy difficult here. Okay, Reaper's a snooze fest. I don't want to hear it. Here come the Reaper mains. I can hear them. Oh my God, dude. I can hear the Bring Me the Horizon. Dude, it's faintly in the background. Guys, Reaper is a snooze fest. Okay, Reinhardt. Reinhardt, from a kit perspective, would be easier. Can we agree on this? Would be easier. We're not talking about how easy it is to climb. Just the kit. Just the kit. Can we all agree on something for once? Reinhardt's easier. Yeah, like, you swing, you shield. As long as you avoid pinning into their entire team, you should be fine. And okay, this applies to anybody in the comments, all right? And I'm talking to the YouTube channel in particular right now. I would love if you guys disagree with something. Tell me. Explain why you disagree. Okay, Roadhog. You know what? As much as I give Roadhog flack, if we're talking the tier list, and like, if we're talking about how easy it is to climb, extremely easy. He does kind of get a getaway free card. His breather's super easy. Doesn't require any skill at all. The hook itself, if we're talking hook 1.0, super simple. No, he's still pretty easy. I think he's still pretty easy. To land the one shot might be on the more difficult side, but to just hook somebody in, he's either like top of easier tier or bottom of sort of hard, sort of easy. I'm gonna put him right here, right there. Oh, that's good. That's golden. That's golden. Sigma. Dude, this is a tough one because he does have pretty ridiculous splash damage. Doesn't need to reload. Can recast shield, but granted, there's that little like 1 second delay on recasting shield. Hitting a rock. I mean, the rock is the size of Jupiter. His ult is not difficult. The area of effect is very large. And then on top of it, he has a DM. That's a snoozer, isn't it? It's gotta be a snoozer. Gotta be a snoozer. It's gotta be. I mean, maybe not. I mean, if you're playing a very basic Sigma, you're playing a very basic Sigma. Sojourn. I'm happy that she's on this tier list. I really am, because we've never done a tier list in the past with Sojourn. So this kind of changes things. I think Sojourn, for the amount of effort you have to put into the character, you don't get enough value because it requires a lot of setup. But I like characters that based on the amount of effort you put in, you get more value. Like, you can't say that with Doomfist, obviously. I'm okay with putting her in difficult. Sombra, a lot of CC, perma invis. I think the permanent invis is really where she kind of falls towards easier and snooze fest. In terms of timing alone, I would put her on the ease because you still need to time yourself properly with your team. It's not like you could just come out of invis and just start hacking somebody without expecting to get shot. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just, her ability, I mean, hack in itself is easy though. I'm okay with this. Symmetra snooze. Snooze. I mean, straight up a snooze. You hold a choke and you TP your team back from spawn or whatever you want to do with TP. You set up a play and you execute it. As long as you're using your mic, you'll do decent. But not the easiest. Who's the easiest character in the game? Okay, I think we'll have to organize this. Torbjorn snooze. We got a lot of snoozers here. Okay, Torb is snooze because 90% of the character's gameplay is his turret and having a turret in a half decent position. And then his overload is also kind of brain dead. Torb is kind of basic. I mean, when I don't want to try, I go Torb. Like, if you look at the majority of the games and the majority of my YouTube videos, if I just don't want to try, I go Torb. If I feel I can get just as much value as playing any other character by doing less, I would go Torb. Okay, Widow. Wait, where did I put Tracer? Oh, we didn't do Tracer yet. Okay, Tracer, easy, impossible tier, right? Like, if you're new to the game and you're playing Tracer, she requires so much timing, so much patience, so much discipline. She's pretty much on that same wavelength as Doomfist and Genji, and requires other players on your team to kind of get involved in that fight. Tracer's easy, impossible tier. Maybe difficult tier. I'll see. I'll see. Widow. Okay. Of all the hit scans in the game, I think Widow is the most difficult. Of all the hit scans. Does she require good positioning? Yes. Is it easy to take that positioning? Yes. She still requires insane aim and still some setup with her charge. Widow is hard. Widow is hard. Do Soldier? Oh yeah, why is he over there? Winston. In order to jump in... Okay, the jump ability itself doesn't require much setup, okay? Does require a lot of timing. It doesn't need to aim. Bubble is still fairly easy. You guys think that Winston is more difficult than Ryan or easier than Ryan? I think that's really where we base this. I'd say harder than Ryan. I'm gonna say harder than Ryan. I'm okay with that. Okay, moving on. Hammond, he's difficult. Depends on how you play Hammond, 100%, but still requires a lot of setup. I'm gonna put him in difficult tier. I think he kind of has that getaway free card with his shields. I've always felt that shields should be nerfed. I know people don't agree. I hate shields. I don't think Ball is on impossible tier because he still has that getaway free card. No, I'm not gonna put impossible. I'm putting my foot down. I'm not putting impossible, but I still recognize that he's difficult. Of all the tanks in the game, I'd say he is the most difficult tank that requires the most tech, even if you're trying to play at an average level. I still think you need good timing. You still need good movement. You can't just be bumping into every wall. Difficult, but not impossible. Yeah, I don't think he's impossible to play. Okay, Zarya. Listen, Zarya is easy. Zarya is easy. You bubble in early fight, mid fight, you build charge, you shoot, you track. Granted, I don't think she's, and a lot of people make the comparison to like Symmetra to Zarya. Symmetra for me is like, she has other utility that makes her a snooze fest outside of just bubbles, for example. I'm gonna put Zarya right there. Okay, Zenyatta. Okay, this is one of those characters that I feel like you can exist and get value of, but then again, like I'm thinking about ranked, but I need to think from a kit perspective. From a kit perspective, you don't have the mobility of a lot of other supports in the game. So I think he's more difficult for that reason alone. So I'm going to put him above Baptiste right off, just off that alone. Less survivability, doesn't have that getaway free card that other supports have, like Moira, like Bap. I think it's a sort of hard, sort of easy, because it's like for Harmony Orb and Discord, it's auto tracking. You don't have to aim. They're pretty free. It's not like they're hard abilities. Okay, Soldier is just sort of snooze fest. Soldier's a Call of Duty hero. For me personally, I started playing Overwatch because I came from Call of Duty, and guess who I mained? Guess who I one-tricked for that entire season? For that entire first season, it was Soldier. He has the self-sustainability. He has the movement speed. His is not all that difficult to aim with. I think he's a snooze fest. That's a pretty easy snooze fest. Okay, listen, that just about wraps up this tier list. Look at these characters without even overthinking it. This is really good. This is really good. Don't even overthink it. Just close your eyes for 2 seconds and then open them and look. This is good. You look at this snooze fest, easiest fucking characters. The easier ones, they're still pretty easy.
Wake up in the morning and the first thing I see is a text. She's saying, what you doing?